Hi everyone, I'm Lindsey Mazza. Welcome to Hiding in Plain Sight, the segment where we dive deep into the inspiring stories of individuals who found their true purpose and stepped into their power by shedding the shame that held them back. Each week, we'll connect with brave guests who will share the journeys of transformation, revealing how they've embraced the parts of themselves that they once hid from the world. So whether you're tuning in for inspiration, seeking courage, or simply curious about the power of personal storytelling, join us as we shine a light on the incredible journeys of those who dare to stop hiding. Let's step into our power together. Today, Deepika is rejoining us, and Deepika is the CEO of Soul Sparks Press, a 6-time award-winning, best-selling author of Hello Universe, It's Me, and a retired Silicon Valley business executive. Deepika is on a mission to bring your sweepingly inspirational stories to life and into the hands of readers around the world. Today, we will talk about how you can change your life by changing the story that you are telling yourself. Welcome back, Deepika.
Thank you for having me, Lindsey. In the studio.
In the studio. It's so exciting to be face-to-face, and I think we're really going to help people by talking this through. So I know you and I've talked about the first step in shifting things is to really discern the kind of story that we keep telling ourselves. So do you want to dive in and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I'm a publisher and I love people's stories and I want to help people create their books. But more than bringing stories out into the world, I want people to understand what are the stories that they are telling themselves. We have been living our entire lives taking inputs from outside of ourselves, and from our environments, right? And all those different inputs have created a story within ourselves that we've chosen to believe. I'm from Silicon Valley, and it's the algorithm, right? What is the algorithm? It's all the different things coming into the computer system that is saying, what is this person like? What do they dislike? What are they thinking? What are they wanting? What are they desiring? And then creating outputs based on all the different experiences that we've actually had. But is that output that keeps getting created, is what you believe within yourself, is the story that you've continued to tell yourself year after year, month after month, day after day, your actual story? Or is there really something else at play?
Right. What was the story that you were telling yourself?
My story was that I was always going to be very smart and very successful. But that story was only going to happen because I wasn't going to have personal success like in my love and romantic life. So I had a very firm belief that I was studious and that I was hardworking and that my studious, hardworking self would achieve great things. And I have. But what I realized as I continued to grow up and into my 20s and 30s and getting married is that the other story that I was really telling myself is that, you're not pretty enough and men aren't going to like really smart women and you need to change yourself in order to be liked by men. And so both stories were at play, but were either story truly true? I didn't think so.
Right, that's so fascinating because I think that, a similar story in terms of being in the corporate world, we were both in the corporate world, and as women in the corporate world, there's this identity that you really have to own and that you have to work hard, you have to exhibit this tough exterior in order to come up against men. And the narrative that runs alongside that is men are intimidated by powerful women. So you either have to accept that you're going to remain single, or you have to figure out how to shrink yourself in order to call in that relationship. And I think that that's something that a lot of women really live with.
100%. I mean, when I started in the corporate world, the women who were at the top or near the top had very similar attributes. They had hobbies that were similar to the men that were working at the firm. They dressed maybe much more masculine than anyone else. I mean, if you look at fashion, women's fashion in the workplace in the late 80s and early 90s, it didn't have any feminine attributes to it, right? All of these subtle things were ways that women were trying to be a lot more like their male counterparts, and you were rewarded for being like the men versus being like the woman that we are who has also really great business acumen, right? And that actually took a long time to come into the forefront in our corporate world where we could actually be who we are and still be noticed and recognized and succeed in the work that we did.
Right. It's not either or, it's and also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And both of us at some point realized, hey, this narrative is not serving us actually at all. Yeah. And I'd love for you to share a couple of steps that you took to start shifting that story, because I think a lot of people, they see where you are now, where I am now, and nobody's really aware of the inner work that went into all of that. And that work started with small steps. So what are some things that you can share so people can use those tips?
I think the first thing is to understand what is your story, right? Becoming really aware of what the story is that you are telling yourself. And then starting to understand whether or not this story is serving the future version of yourself that you wish to become.
Right.
If the story you have been telling yourself, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm not smart enough, I'm not attractive enough, I am too studious, I'm not studious enough, whatever it might be, if that version of what you're telling yourself no longer serves you, then guess what? You have permission to change it. Right? You don't have to keep continuing with the story that has been your story. You can actually shift that story. But the first step in all of this is to really understand and become aware of it. So quite literally, you can do a little inventory of yourself. What am I choosing to believe in this moment? And is that belief actually serving me? Is this a belief I want to have, whether it's about myself or something happening in the world around me? What belief do I wish to hold? And then from there, you can say like, that's interesting. I don't know if that still serves the version of myself that I'm becoming. Could I actually work to shift that?
Right. And paired with accepting that whatever you envision that future version of you to be is possible.
Yes. I think this is where people get really stuck, right? You may be aware that the current story is not serving you. You may even become aware of the steps and shifts that you think you should do to change your story. But the real secret ingredient in all of this is to actually believe that what you're shifting into is truly possible for you. So I think Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, he says, you are meant to be the greatest, grandest version you have ever seen for yourself. But for so many of us, when we get that vision in our heads of something we want to do or something we think we could achieve, we'll immediately talk ourselves out of all the ways that that thing could come into fruition for ourselves. So we may know the steps that could get us there, but we're not actually going to go there, right? And so the ability to go there, and what you see you doing these days, what you see myself doing, and so many of the other people out there who are achieving things in a different way, is that we believe it's possible.
Right.
And I think believing that it's possible for you is the magic ingredient. Because knowing your story, believing it's not going to change, even if you know the steps that you might think you want to take, or taking steps with the belief that, well, this might not work out, that's going to keep you exactly where you are. You're going to be stuck. You're going to continue to be hiding in plain sight, right? But if instead you are willing to move into a version of yourself that you know you can be, and you believe it is also possible, guess what? Everything is going to line up to allow that version of yourself to come in. But you've got to take the steps with the belief that it can actually happen.
It's so beautifully said. Thank you so much for today, Deepika.
Yes, thank you for having me.